Thank you to Lal AI for sponsoring this video. More about them later on in the remake. What's up guys, it's Aiden, back again with another video on how Drake's Search and Rescue was made. Let's get into the video. This song was produced by BNYX, SADPONY, Wesley Curtis, 40, and BEAUTIFULMVN, with additional production from Lil Yachty. Before we get started, I didn't remake the entire song because, well, for one thing, I didn't think this song needed to be 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I like the arrangement for the most part. I thought the instrumental was nice and progressive, but I thought it could have ended at this point right here, so I decided to end the remake at that point. Now, I do like this song in general, and I think that there's a lot of knowledge to be gained from studying this instrumental, and that's essentially what we're doing here. We are deconstructing the most popular songs from the most popular artists to show you exactly what the top producers are doing. And let me tell you something you already know. If you know exactly what the top producers are doing when they're creating beats, you will be taking enormous leaps forward to producing at the same level. So you don't have to watch my videos if you don't want to, but the reason I think you should is because I spend weeks and months dedicated into deciphering exactly what happened in these songs to create the highest quality educational videos that I can on how you can make a living off music and produce songs at this level. Anyway, let's jump into the video. So let's start off with the piano. We're going to be using the Studio Grand preset in Addictive Keys. And one of the great things about Addictive Keys is you can decide which mic you want to be recording the sound from. I'm using the wide amp tube M269 microphone and making this volume envelope and just bringing down the attack to bring down the transient. Then I penciled in this pattern. It was probably performed live, but I'm lazy. So it's going to sound like this without any effects. As you can see, this top octave is just the octave below repeating upwards. To make this more humanized as far as the velocity goes, all these notes are being played at different volumes. So if I just level out all the velocity, you can go Alt-R, and I'm just going to be randomizing the velocity of these notes. Then for effects, this wouldn't be an Aiden Kenway video if we didn't add RC20 retro color to everything. We're adding a little bit of wobble, some air distortion, some space reverb, adding a soft low pass filter, and bringing up the tone. So this is all deliberately making it sound more retro. Then we're going to be adding some Pressor, which is now my favorite compressor plugin, which I made with WA Productions. It's a really high quality, affordable compressor plugin if you're interested. So obviously I have an affiliation with them and I got to support the home team, which is the plugins that I make. We're not quite done yet, but it's going to sound like this so far. Now that sounds good, but it still sounded a little bit robotic. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up by 2 semitones and we're going to go render and replace into the playlist, which is going to convert it from MIDI into audio. Go into the audio clip, change the mode to stretch and bring it down by 2 semitones. Now, that might have seemed like a minor difference, but it makes a significant difference to the way that the sound is perceived. It really makes the piano sound just relaxed and like it's not trying. That's one of the biggest things I've noticed about making loops is you want to make it sound like you're barely even trying when you make these loops, which might sound a little bit like counterintuitive for some reason, but I promise you, the more relaxed you can make your loop sound, the better for the most part, especially for Drake type beats. Then when we come into the chorus, which is after it's repeated 5 times, we're going to be going make unique, and then we're going to be bringing this down by a octave, which is 12 semitones. And that's going to sound like this. Then we add in a second piano during the second verse, which is going to sound like this. And that plays in conjunction with the first piano. And if I was going to get technical, I would be making some slight changes to if they're playing in time or not. Because you can hear in the original song, they're actually not playing in time. So now it's going to sound like this. That's it for the piano. Next up, let's go through the drums. We have the identical closed hat, which I actually found in my Matches Perfectly drum kit. This is the design hat, which is the first place I went to because I heard the song and I was like, that sounds like this hi-hat. But we are modifying it. So originally it's going to sound like this. But we're going to be modifying this hi-hat sample probably in a way that you haven't seen before. But it matches perfectly with the original song, so I'm going to be incorporating this technique. The technique I speak of is the length shifting maneuver. I'm going to be coining a lot of terms in this video. So the way you incorporate the length shifting maneuver is you want to go to mode and change that to stretch and then bring down the length. So originally it's going to sound like this, but once you start to bring down the length, what happens? The sound gets longer. And side note, this is actually a really cool way of inventing, modifying, creating new sounds. So if you bring down the length really close, you get all different types of sounds coming through. And the way this works is because we've changed the mode to stretch, it means that regardless of the length, it will be playing for the same length. Damn it. There's got to be a better way of explaining that. Okay, let me give you an example. If I bring down the length by half, now we have half the length of the sample. The sample is going to be playing twice as slow instead of the original. But for this song, we're bringing it down to 80%. Then we're also panning it to the left. I'm going to do it around 30%. Then let's just right click on this pattern and go fill each 2 steps. Then we're bringing it up by 2 semitones. Let me prove to you now that we have the identical hi-hat. This is the original song coming through the audio on parametric EQ2. So you're going to be seeing an EQ of the original song. So that right there, these frequencies is the original hi-hat. Now compare that to the remake. Too hard to see. Let me make this bigger for you. So the hi-hat frequencies are going to be coming around here. Ooh. Now, I'm sure the sound was processed differently in the original song, but I'm just showing you one of the ways in which you can get to this point. And this is also perfectly illustrating another point that I really wanted to make, which is, yes, it is so important to keep your beats simple, so the less sounds, the better. But the sounds that you do use, you want to make sure that those are sounding as good as possible. This hi-hat, as well as all the other samples in this song, were modified to make them sound as good as possible for this beat. So that was the hi-hat. Next up, we have the identical snare. And this just plays on the 3 and the 7. Then we have a second identical hi-hat coming in, which is actually an open hat. This is the BWB The Wave Open Hat 13, which once again, we're going to be heavily modifying. And once again, I'm going to be proving to you at the end, that's the exact same sample. So it's going to sound like this originally. Then we're going to be bringing up the sample start and bring the pan to the right, which now sounds like this. Then we're faced with another problem, which the sound is going to be playing for too long. Have a listen to this. The hi-hat isn't controlled enough, it plays for too long, so we're going to be going back into the audio clip, going to your envelope/instrument settings and turning on this envelope with the sus maxed out and the release brought down to 8%. So now it's going to sound like this. All right, fine, I'll prove to you it's identical. So this is the original song. Look at these frequencies just here compared to the remake. Also, it sounds the exact same. I'm done convincing. I don't want to hear you all in the comments like, nah. You guys are actually really nice in the comments. I always really appreciate that. Next up, we have the identical sub bass, which is the 808 Metro House sub. And as you can see, I've created some loop points. So the way you go about doing that is where you want to right click on the sample, go edit in audio editor. So you want to go in and find 2 different points where it's zero crossing from either negative air displacement to positive air displacement, or from positive air displacement to negative air displacement. Then drag out the selected area until you're happy with the loop and go Control L. And as you can see, that's looping this section of the 808. I'm going to bring up the snap to get rid of that clicking sound and go accept. We're going to select the entire thing, bring it back into the audio clip, make sure use loop points is turned on. Then I'm going to bring up the crossfade to make sure that there's absolutely no clicking or any pops going on. It's just a very smooth sound. And I'm not just showing you this for no reason. It's actually necessary to do this because the final note, the A#4 here, is too long for it to play as long as it needs to without the 808 looping over itself. So as you can see, we're playing this pattern. What I like about this sub bass is that they're humanizing it once again, so you can see that there are some gaps in between the notes in the MIDI, which makes it sound more relaxed and not as robotic. And you can see they've done this when you compare the sub to the original song. As you can see, they have some gaps in between when the notes are playing. And it's definitely important to have points in the song where the 808 or the bass isn't playing. So it's going to sound like this. Then when we come into the chorus, the sub is actually going up an octave. So it's the same sub as before, but we're just taking it up 1 octave. So it's going to sound like this. And bringing up the sub by an octave in this song, in my opinion, was an excellent production choice. I think it adds nice variation to the arrangement. And not only that, when the sub goes up an octave, the piano goes down an octave. So it's a really cool instrumental switch up using the same instruments. And it's very much keeping the same idea because the piano is playing the same pattern, the bass is playing the same pattern. So it's going to sound like this. Then for absolute accuracy, matching perfectly with the original song, we're going to be chopping up the sub at the chorus and having it come in just before, which is going to help it smoothly transition from the verse into the chorus. Just listening to the original song, you can clearly hear that this is the exact same sub that was used. And to prove to you this is the identical sub, what I'm going to do, I'll export the pattern actually. That's going to prove to you how it's identical. Bam! I mean, as you can see, just look at the waveforms. Oh, the waveforms are just matching. Even at the start of the sample, you can just see that it comes in at the same way and it just matches the entire time through. So there you go. Then after the chorus, we get to the break where we're actually switching up from a sub to an 808, which is just playing this pattern. And you might already be able to tell that that's the Spins 808, but we're adding a low pass filter on top of that using Fruity Parametric EQ2. And like everything else in this remake, we've absolutely nailed it. And you can see this by comparing the waveforms to the original song. You can see it's perfect by just comparing the waveforms to the original song. So that was the identical sub and the identical 808. Next up, we have the identical kick. My God, are we good? Oh, you've got to be freaking kidding me, bro.
When you're ready.
Cobb's grab a grande iced mocha with an extra shot.
Perfect. Press through the first window when you're ready.
We had a quick coffee break and now we're back. Next up, we have the identical kick. This is the rack kick, actually, believe it or not. We're actually playing it down at A sharp. So this is C, this is A sharp. And you can see this by comparing the waveforms. If you bring it up, it doesn't match perfectly until you stretch it out. And I've calculated that bringing it down by 2 semitones stretches it out enough to make it match perfectly with the original waveform. And of course, the most important thing is that it sounds the same, which it does down at A sharp. And this brings me to my next point, which is there's very recent law in the music industry about using kicks in your beats is bad because Jack Harlow doesn't like kicks in his beats.
But you know what I hate? I like, what? You're like, bro, kicks, bro. That's like the worst instrument I ever heard.
And a bunch of producers jumped on this bandwagon and have said that I don't use kicks in my beats. I understand this view. I think adding kicks absolutely shifts your beats from rap music into more trap music, meaning they're more instrumentally focused. There's less room for the artist to rap over the top. And so the heavier the kicks are and the more frequently they're used in a track, the more and more your beats shift from rap into trap. So with that in mind, I'd like to coin another term in this video called low-key kicks. Now, I'm mostly joking when I'm saying this, but I think a lot of producers, myself included, like to have their kicks really punching through the mix. So they'll crank it up to 0 decibels in the mix, boost the shit out of them, add like a fruity soft clipper. Now, if you do this, it's not to say that your beat won't still slap and get placed. My point is the artist's voice is meant to be the most important instrument in a track. And when you have the filthiest, fattest kicks in the world, the kick absolutely outshines the vocals and it becomes very hard for the rapper to rap on top. With all that being said, I think the original producers of this song recognize that fact. So there are a couple of things you can do to make your kicks a little bit more low key. One of those is obviously bringing the volume down, which they did with these kicks. As you can hear, they're not very aggressive. The other thing, which you can see they've done, they've brought it down from C5 down 2 semitones to A sharp 4. When you increase the pitch, you increase the perceived loudness. So this is at C, and this is at A sharp 4. So that's the first kick pattern. The second kick pattern comes in during the chorus, and that's once again adding nice variation in the arrangement while still using not too many sounds. So that's it for the drums and the bass. Next up, we have the Kim Kardashian sample. And I'm making some massive sacrifices for you guys because I spent about like an hour and a half watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians to find the vocal samples.
We're here for you. Hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Hey.
The Kim Kardashian sample comes from a scene in Keeping Up with the Kardashians in season 20, episode 12. 20 season. And it's of Kim talking to, what's the mum's name? Kim talking to her mum about her divorce with Kanye, and Drake sampled this for some reason. I don't know if he's trying to reignite a beef or something. You can tell me in the comments below. I don't listen to the news. I just kind of remake songs and go to the gym.
But I do know that I will be happy. I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy.
Okay.
Remember that.
You didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yep. I saw it on the internet.
That's hilarious. As you can hear, if you've heard the original song, they use these vocals, but there's background music. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this audio through a stem extractor called Lal AI, who I'd like to thank for sponsoring this video. And this is the fastest and highest quality stem extraction tool that I have found. I've used it in previous videos, so you know I'm telling the truth when I tell you I really like this program. And what's funny, and don't tell them this, but I was going to use Lal AI in this video anyway, because I had to, because it was necessary, because there would have been no other way for me to remake the song. So for the stem extraction, I went to voice and noise, and I ran the audio of that conversation through the program, and have a listen to it now.
But I do know that I will be happy. I didn't come this far just to come this far.
It does an amazing job of separating stems. So it sounds like this originally.
I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy.
And then now.
I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy.
So very minimal audio quality loss. And that's going to sound like this.
I didn't come this far just to come this far and not be happy.
Okay.
Remember that.
You didn't come this far just to come this far.
And obviously the service is so much more powerful than that. You can extract several different types of stems from the drums, bass, guitar, piano, synthesizer, strings, wind, vocals, everything. So thank you very much to Lal AI for sponsoring this video. You can check them out in the description below. They now have a referral program available to everyone. So for every person that you refer to Lal AI, you will receive 5 minutes that you can spend on splitting songs and videos. And frankly, watch this space because artificially intelligent stem splitting is absolutely going to be the future of sampling in the music industry. Then you're also going to have to extract another clip of her saying, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Then we have a synth coming in from Jupiter 8V. This is the warm and dark preset, which you can find in their pads. It's the very bottom one just there. For effects, we're adding an EQ and then also Fruity Chorus, and we're panning this 100% to the right. So that's going to sound like this. Then we have this little Vox sound coming in. And we're going to be penciling this into the piano roll. Make sure to notice the velocity. It's going to sound like this. Then we're going to be automating the panning, so it's going to sound like this. Then for effects, we're going to be adding Fruity Parametric EQ2 for a low pass filter, and we're going to be automating the low pass. So to do that, just right click on the low pass and go create automation clip. That's going to pull up an automation clip like this, and we're going to make this curve. So it's going to sound like this. This is once again another good example of not overcomplicating things and making sure they synergize really well and making sure that the sounds that you are using are sounding as good as they can. So each part of this sound manipulation is making it sound better for the final mix. So we're doing so much to this sound. We're changing the velocity, we're changing the panning, and we're also changing the low pass filter. Then we have another sound, which frankly, I can't believe how well we nailed it. I'll play you the end result first, and then I'll show you exactly what the sound is. Hopefully YouTube doesn't demonetize me for this, but it's going to sound like this.
I saw it on the internet.
Compared to the remake.
I saw it on the internet.
When I heard the original song and I heard this Vox sound,
The internet.
it immediately took me back to my remake of Kanye West's Off the Grid. I'll leave a link to it up there. And in that video, I really struggled to find the vocal preset that was used in the drill beat. The preset we're using is the Mars Legato single R preset, and we're going to be playing this note here. Then let's go render and replace. Then we're just going to be cutting out this two parts of that. So it's going to sound like this. Then we're going to be adding that to the mixer. And we're adding pitch wheel, bringing down the timbre by 2 semitones, leaving the original pitch at 0. So this is before, and this is after. Creates this weird sort of vocal effect. Then as you can see, we are automating the panning from 25% to the left ear up to 75%. So it's going to sound like this.
The internet.
I went onto YouTube and I downloaded this audio clip of City Street. Just get any sort of ambient sound effect. So in the song. Cool, and then that plays at the 2 breaks as well. That's it for the remake. This is the final result. I don't know what G-Mix means. It's probably because they're just hearing the instrumental of this song, but they are picking up the instrumental. So, and really quickly, as you can see, Master Uguay is gone because I will be updating the Patreon. We have now some albums up there in the background, as you can see. So yeah, RIP to Master Uguay in the chat. Anyway, that's it for the remake. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.